What's going on, everyone? It's LFC Transfer Room here, and today we're going to talk about the most popular owners in world football at this moment in time. Fenway Sports Group, FSG. They've recently been saying, John W. Henry recently did an interview where he said, why would he sell Liverpool? He's not sold a club in over 20 years. He's looking for investors and stuff like that, but why would he? Now, I'm joined today by Kev, Drew, and Matty. So we know that we're going to get a bit of debate on this going, and we know we're going to have some conflicted opinions. Make sure, if you're new here, you like and subscribe to the channel and give us your opinions in the chat. Matty, you've just squeezed in, so I'm going to come to you first. How are you doing today? Are you ready to talk about FSG, the wonderful wizards that are FSG?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm not as bad as others. I don't think I'm not totally against stuff that you've done, but we'll get into that. But yeah, I can't wait to speak about it. To be honest with you, it's a very hot off the press subject, really, isn't it? And everyone wants to speak about it. Everyone's got their own opinion on it. Be interesting to see what everyone's opinion is here. To be honest.
And Drew, obviously, you've got to be happy. American owners, or are you starting to think, you know what, maybe we need a change?
It's definitely not enough in the current state, but I think people have short-term memories for what they've done, and then how Arsenal have completely changed their club to fit the FSG model. They've even quoted saying that they're doing that. I think speaks for how effective they can be, but I'm excited to get in the debate today to see what needs to happen for them to continue to have a good, or not continue to end or have a good legacy at the club.
Well, we'll probably start that on the next topic. But how are you doing, Kev? Before we kick into the first topic.
Oh, good. Kind of excited. That excited. I was asking yesterday where the link was. So that's how excited I was. So let's get into it. How are you, James?
I'm good. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to start this off. I firmly believe FSG are trying to sell this club. I remember John W. Henry saying multiple times that this club is for sale. If someone comes in, we will always sell it. This is the FSG model. We've got our investors, and this is the model that we've got to do. Do you believe in Matty when he says that he doesn't want to sell the club?
No and yeah. Because there's comments about they've never sold anything. They haven't. They rarely haven't. They've always invested. The only difference is now they won a NFL team. Now, if you get an NFL team, it's just a cash cow. Just makes money every single year. You don't have to have a lot of investment really because you're bringing it back. A lot of it's through drafts. I know it's big contracts, but they're getting that back in like ticket sales and stuff like that. So I can understand the thought process. And then obviously there's NBA teams as well that apparently he wants with LeBron, which is a brilliant business decision from FSG, considering he's now the all-time record holder over Michael Jordan, the greatest ever, you could say, LeBron now. So that sways it for me because I think there's opportunities there for them to sell us, and the money they get off us, go and buy that NFL team or go and buy that NBA team or whatever, and then they're probably looking at that thinking, well, we'll make twice as much profit in this industry than we will in the Premier League. But then obviously now the Super League looks to be coming back more robust. People seem to be a bit more against the Champions League now. If that comes into play, it's more money coming into Liverpool. So then in that sense, especially with what's going on with City and stuff, I think FSG might be a little bit reluctant to sell right now because they could hold on. And I was thinking if City get their ass wiped in court, then it changes things for owners like FSG because no one like Chelsea, if City get done, they're going straight to Chelsea next. And then clubs like Liverpool with FSG and stuff, then our model would ultimately probably be the best in the league.
And you make a really good point, and then we've already got one of these in chat, which is how does independent regulator affect FSG with people going after Man City and stuff like that. But Drew, I mean, you probably are more aware in sort of the media sense of FSG because of obviously they've got all the American sports teams, they've got the Penguins, they've got the NASCAR, they've got obviously Boston Red Sox. So there's probably quite a lot more FSG content that you get in America than we do in the UK. Do you think that they'd be interested in selling? We're the only international sports team they own, aren't we?
I think so. I think the most news you hear about is the Red Sox because of how poorly run it's been. But it's like there's wild swings though in American sports sometimes. With you can be first and then you're at the bottom of the pack in the next season or two. But for them selling, it kind of reminds me of John W. Henry when he said when Arsenal bid 40 million plus one for Suarez, and he's like, "What are you smoking at the Emirates?" Kind of seems like he has a really high value for what he places on the club. Like I don't see them not selling if they get like an $8 billion offer from some consortium or something like that. It's quite clear that he's a businessman, and you're not gonna say no to an offer like that unless maybe something along the lines of a super league could guarantee an exorbitant amount of revenue in the future. I think that's like the one caveat when that started coming back into play. It was like, hold on, we're not hearing as much about bids coming in or that kind of thing. And then it comes out with his statement that we haven't sold a club in 20 years. So I think Maddie touched on that, the super league. It's like the timing of that for me makes it kind of seem like they're going to hold their chips for now. But if a massive offer comes in, I don't see them saying no.
And what do you think, Kev? I mean, I'm still on the side of I think that they want to get rid of it, but I think they've got to make the noises that they don't really care about getting rid of it so that they get the maximized value. Where do you sit on this?
I'm a bit half and half. If I'm perfectly honest, I think initially they started out looking for investment and with the possibility, which is different to what they've come out in recent years. They've come out and said, well, we are open to selling the club. But as that was on the 7th of November, since then, they've realised, and what's happening with Man City, I think will have an effect on it. You look at what's happening and they're probably thinking, well, do you know what? Don't really want to get rid of this cash cow because if they start winning again, we know what they can do. So there may be words within their ownership already, within FSG, that some of the main players in there don't really initially want the full sale of the club because of how much it can generate and has generated for them. There's a reluctance, but I think everything has a price. And I agree that with Drew in a way that if a certain bid comes in, or of a ridiculous amount above $4.5 billion, they would be willing and accepting to sell that club. I personally feel as though it's a bit like when your mum and dad ask you on holiday and go, right, we're going to a different country, and you get all excited and you start looking through the brochures and you find out after 4 months of looking that you're actually going to Pwllheli in Wales for a Butlins and a mock ant and deck show is going to be rolling up. So you feel deflated as a child, and I think that's what the fan base are at the minute. The expectancy is that we've read into it a bit too much, possibly. And from that point of view, it's kind of deflating when it came out. I was kind of annoyed at the timing of it, to be honest. I think they could have waited till the Real Madrid game was out of the way before they actually came up with any kind of comments. I think our priority was the Champions League game, not to find out about the ownership and what's happening. Although they did need to communicate, but it's nothing than what I initially didn't expect to hear. I also agree with Matty. I think they're probably looking at two things: United, how much they're going to go for, and what's happening there, and to give that as a relevant ballpark figure of how much you should be looking for, but also with the regulator and also with what's going on at City.
No, it's really interesting with sort of the regulator, what's going on Man City, the new Champions League and the Super League coming back, Matty. All of these have they have the potential of upside, but all of them hold really big risks. If Man City get done, that cash inflation price and valuation of things, rocketing through the ceiling, that's going to drop really quickly if things get put into line. New Champions League format looks terrible Everyone says it's going to be more money, but there is a good chance that that's got depreciation in it. Super League gets nowhere, or it goes into Europe and then the Premier League. And then there's a different competition, and that fractures for a period of time. There's so much risk at this moment in time in all the different variables that could be profitable, but if Man City get done, other people get done. That maybe this isn't as opportunistic as we think. I don't know if everyone's screen's just gone weird or just mine.
Yeah. I think it's just yours, James.
You're still good, James. We can hear you.
Is he gone?
Might be. Matty, do you have anything to say about that?
The only thing I'd say is I think there's more going on than what people actually know, because people keep comparing us to Manchester United, and obviously there's a lot of talk about them with Qatar, then Jim Ratcliffe's come out and all that, but people need to remember that Manchester United are on the stock market, so their business has to be public.
Exactly.
Liverpool's doesn't, so because they're on that stock market and they've got to reveal everything, we haven't. So it could be a matter of FSG could come out one day next week, tomorrow, we don't know, and say, right, Liverpool sold, and it'd be a shock to everyone. So that's how we operate, really.
It's a different ball game with, as you say, Matthew, and I agree. I think a lot is going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of. As you say, you got the likes of Mike Gordon, who's not. You know what I mean? Yeah, we can hear you, mate.
Yeah, right. I'm just trying to fix my audio now, just because everything's broke. There we go. So, Matty, I don't know if you answered the question, but many things are going down, or many things have the potential to go down and not up.
Yeah, it does. Maybe rightfully so. I think football, as the money in football's went a bit bizarre lately. When you think back to like when I was younger and now, and it was like Gerrard getting linked with like £20 million moves to Chelsea and stuff, £30 million moves to Chelsea, and now you think, what would he be worth in today's market? So maybe it'd be a good thing. But then if everything was to change, sides like Liverpool with owners like FSG are the ones who are going to benefit, because when you look at our finances, our club is very, very, very well run. Extremely well run. So if they was to come down on the likes of City and Chelsea and stuff, and they had to spend within their means, although they may fudge, because let's not forget, City fudged their figures to say that they earned more than Liverpool, Man United, and Real Madrid last year, which is just ludicrous. You've only got to watch the games to see that it's not happening. But more needs to be done about that, and then clubs like Liverpool are going to benefit, which then would then probably make Liverpool dominate the Premier League. So then that'll put the market value more. So I do think that's within FSG's thinking. But like I've just said to Kevin Drew when your signal went, everyone's comparing us to Manchester United because more seems to be going on with United. They're on the stock market, so they've got to be public what's going on with them. We aren't. So I'm not bothered if things are happening behind the scenes. I'm not bothered if we have an investor. I'm not bothered if FSG stay if they promise to spend. That's the only issue I've got with FSG, because a lot of our football Twitter fan base are very fickle with FSG, and a lot of people need to remember they literally saved this club from the brink of existence. We've got a lot to thank them for. As much as they haven't invested in the squad, the reason Liverpool Football Club has went on and won the Premier League and won everything in the past few seasons with Jurgen Klopp is because FSG saved us. We were literally about to be bust, completely gone, right from under our eyes. We'd be watching Bootle FC or something instead on a Saturday, but we're not. We're still watching Liverpool. So I've got a lot to thank FSG for. They've turned it into a very good business. Obviously there was probably one of the best training grounds in the league. They haven't moved us out of our home, which I think loses a lot of the atmosphere and heritage in the side. They've expanded on what's home for us, and I'm happy about that. I didn't want a new stadium. So if they get investors and start spending, then they're right for us. I'm not happy or sad if they go or stay, to be honest. I'm a bit impartial, because I feel as though with everything that's going on in football at the minute, having very smart businessmen as your owners could pay off.
You made a point about FSG investing, and I think when you look at some of their other sports teams, Drew, FSG invest in cycles, don't they? And I think they invest in a cycle of players and bits and pieces to go through it, and then what they do is they let that play out and they let another cycle go. And I think it's almost at the end of that cycle, they look, is there a buyer there for us at this moment in time that could get us some money? If there's not, then we'll do another cycle of investment and we'll grow the value of the club even more. Because that's just been seen with the Red Sox, just spent $400 million, didn't they, on a player? I know American contracts are a lot different to European ones. So if FSG aren't going, I think they have to commit to another cycle of investment, don't they?
Yeah, 100%. I think that'd be like the thing that fans are most frustrated with, because you can't argue with what Maddie said. Like, I remember when Gillette and Hicks, other American owners, so that might leave a poor taste in memory, almost ran us into administration. But FSG did pick us up out of that, which Maddie alluded to, or Maddie went full into. And they brought us to the point where if Manchester City are found guilty and all that, we could have won 3 Premier Leagues in the span of like 4 or 5 years. Like, I think that's the kind of thing people forget too, is that we have been challenging for titles every single year, like big titles too. If it's not the Premier League, it's the Champions League, 3 finals, like all of the where you want to be is there in our seasons. And once FSG and Klopp got the team rolling. So I think that needs to be remembered, that just because we slipped up in a couple finals and didn't get the last score, it's like we've been the best team or one of the best teams in Europe for the past 5-7 years. And like you said, we're hitting this cycle where we need to refresh. And I think that's where, and rightly so, the biggest frustration comes in. Everyone knows we need midfielder. We need that reimbursement. Everyone's known that for a couple of years now. Everyone back to when Gini and Wijnaldum left, we didn't replace him. Like, that kind of stuff is extremely frustrating as a fan when you see how close we come, and then seasons like this season where you're like, what did you expect? So yeah, I think the investment has to happen. It must happen if FSG have any future with the club. I'm afraid I'd still give them that chance. I'm worried or concerned that maybe the ownership game has evolved past FSG. Kind of just in any series of evolution, whether it's electronics or you saw it, and we'll keep it with soccer, but in the 90s, in the globalization of the football in the Premier League, Liverpool were left behind there. And maybe this is the point where the biggest sporting clubs, the biggest football clubs are owned by billionaires or investment groups with access to billions of dollars. And maybe that's the point where we might fall behind in the evolution of the sport. I'm hoping that's not the case, but that might be the reality of what's happening.
It's a really interesting point Drew makes there, Kev, because FSG as an investment group do have billions of dollars. It's just they have a very diversified portfolio of different sports teams. They're spread thin. They've just won the Las Vegas NBA rights. Obviously, they've got an NASCAR team, they've got a baseball team, they've got a football team. So if you've got a diverse portfolio, you're probably less likely to take risks all over the place in case you need sort of a backstop.
And that is the problem, is that they're probably thinning themselves too thinly, where especially the way how things are adapted in majority of the sport, and how much globally now the Premier League is making, and how much transfer fees have extremely gone up since they've taken over us. That's a concern. It's worry. But I can't be less than what Matty said and what he alluded to. They have been great, and if it wasn't for them, where would we be now? They've got the right people in charge, and if you look at what we do and how we look, it's mad how a football fan, we don't look at the starting 11 and use over that. We look at profit and loss as a fan group now, and we look at that every year, and you see the commercial revenues that they've driven up, and to be earning over £1 million in or considerable amounts of money on a match day is absolutely amazing how this nearly 100 million they make on a match day, and it starts them and having the right people in the right place. The problem I see with them is that you can have so many assets, but at some point you're going to have to gamble on at least one of them or two of them. But I think the marginally thinning themselves out because you can only juggle so much, and with the revenue streams that are needed to keep and to perform at the highest level, especially in the footballing world, it's going to take a lot of those assets or decimate from other areas within their sporting groups. Personally,
yeah. Now, Drew said, Matty, that maybe this as this stage of evolution of the Premier League has left FSG behind. That maybe it's starting to become too big a playing ground for billionaires than it is to for an investment group like FSG to be able to sustain it. Do you think that's the case? Do you think that they could sustain it? Do you think these court cases are actually going to bring everything back in line? What's she thinking?
I don't really know, because the reason the Premier League's in this state with all these billionaires playing FIFA basically every week is because of the Premier League. Like, when you think about it logically, the new owners ethics committee put like Newcastle's owners into the Premier League and stuff. Like, what morals of these people actually got anyway? Because the FSG model and stuff that would have, if we had FSG during, say, 10, 15 years ago, we probably would have dominated, because they're so good as a bit on the business side. We would have had more money than other teams and stuff. And the reason football's got to what it is probably Roman Abramovich started it. But again, that was in the Premier League. So will the same people who have brought all these owners and all this money into the Premier League then go after Manchester City? They could either go after it and prove a statement, but then is it going to then reduce money out of the Premier League? Because the sides like Chelsea aren't going to be bringing in like Felix and all that in January windows, and City aren't going to be buying Erling Haaland because they simply won't be able to afford it. The only side that's been able to buy who they want whenever they want in the Premier League really is Manchester United. And they still do, even though the Glazers, they hate it there, they still buy whoever they want whenever they want Manchester United, and they earn that much money. But like Haley just said, this is the first time Liverpool have actually earned more than Manchester United. So that shows how big of an impact FSG have had. So I personally think they will see it out, because if the Premier League do seem to find some morals and do go after Manchester City and take all appropriate action and then go after Chelsea, for example, then FSG are going to be laughing, because Liverpool will probably be up. Liverpool, Manchester United will be the dominant sides as always, because they're the two biggest clubs, and then you can only spend what you earn. We're going to make the most no matter what, because you're not going to be able to fudge all these sponsorships anymore if they handle Manchester City correctly. So for FSG, you're probably looking at it thinking, will the Liverpool value go up if Manchester City are found guilty? I think so. Because why would anyone go and buy Manchester City when they've got that hanging over their head and they could be docked points, relegated, transfer bans, etc., etc. And then the same could happen with Chelsea. They've only just come off the back of a transfer ban, so they could be on another one. So Liverpool becomes a very attractive opposition then, and I think that's what they're holding out for. But don't get me wrong, like what Drew said, if someone comes in for 4.5 billion, but then saying that, Qatar openly said they tried to buy us and they wanted it at 70-30 and FSG wanted 51-49. So that makes me think they're not bothered, because I can guarantee Qatar probably threw 4.5 million at us because they've got money to burn.
But no one would take a 51-49. I wouldn't. Would you? Because you have no say.
You could say it. Well, that was similar with Arsenal, weren't it? Before Kroenke got full control, he did only have part control, didn't he? And then when they sold the remaining stake, which is what.
But that's multiple investors, and he just hoovered them up, didn't he, and forced it through.
Yeah, but don't you think FSG, if they do 51-49, it's a bit smart as well, because then they're going to have to work directly with the investor. FSG have openly said in that same statement that they're not selling us, that they won't be here forever. So then bringing someone in with 49%, it's probably with the view of, yeah, you've got 49% now, but in the next 5 or 10 years, we'll sell you the other stake. And then in that 5 or 10 years, FSG can then teach the other people, the commercial success because if an investor comes in. Don't forget, FSG have got 10 years experience in football, in the commercial market of football. Liverpool got the biggest ever kit deal off Nike. We're one of the only sides to have that deal where it's like 30% of all sales goes to Liverpool. Not many sides have that. And that's by FSG and the business side of the club. It's all done by them. So if someone comes in with 49%, they will own us eventually. So, but then I do feel like if someone does come in with 49%, you'll have all the Twitter idiots saying, "Oh, Spirit of Shankly, you stopped Liverpool getting sold 100%." That's what it'll be. There'll be an excuse everywhere. But I'd be quite happy with 49%. I would.
But if you were the 49%, you have no say, Drew. So if you've got that level of, let's say, for example, you go, okay, well, we want to invest money in the squad. Let's have a vote. The 51% says no. Just hypothetically, I'm not saying that would happen, but that's what the 51% is there for.
Yeah, I understand that. I think Matty alluded to it, like the success of FSG. It's like if you had the chance to invest with like Warren Buffett, pair up with him and let him make the ultimate decisions on where your finances are, why wouldn't you take advantage of that unless you think you can do better? I think that's where it comes at. Or you don't care about making money. If you just want to do what you want to do, that'd be the only, like, I understand not having control. You put up, $4 billion, and at the end of the day, you don't have control of what you just bought. That can be a very, precarious situation. It can be a scary situation. That's a lot of money to put up and have absolutely, at the end of the day, no control over what happens at your club. So I understand that, but it's not like you're investing in like a funny corporation that's been fudging the books and, like operating on a lot of financial instability. It's, you see what they've done with the club over the last decade. The global growth that it has is immense. It's impressive. And I said at the beginning of the stream, it's exactly what Arsenal came out and said they were building their model on. So I can understand why you wouldn't want to take 49%, but also with the option of potentially getting further stake when FSG is ready to go. Maybe that changes how much money you invest or you buy your stake in the club for. But for me, it'd be an attractive position if there was potential for full takeover in some point in the future. But it's depends what you want.
For me, what I was thinking is why don't they float 30% of the club and sell it to fans as stocks and shares? That way, they can enforce a full takeover at 70%, and they're able to generate the investment that they want. This way, fans get to own part of their club. We're comfortable FSG know how to run a business, and we get to have our say. What do you think, Kev?
I have reservations about that. And the reservations I've got is, right, you're going to put 30% of it. How much per stock? How much for an investment for a share, for one share?
Breaking up. I don't know if it's me, but is Kev breaking up for anyone else?
A little bit, yeah.
Anyone hear me? Sorry, hear me any better?
Yeah.
How much per share would it be?
They could set that for whatever they wanted, couldn't they?
So you're probably looking the last time they've done anything that was about £4,500 per share. Okay. What do you get for that 1%? That one share you get? Do you get access to games? Do you get priority for cup finals?
It did that in the past, didn't it? Because they had the
It did. But the problem you had with it, Matty, was the fact that it came down to letters and how it was put on the share, because the lawyers are still trying to get them out of it, because for the whole life of that person, they have priority for any cup final ticket. Now we've already got a problem at the minute at how much of a percentage we get. You're now factoring in 30% of people who, by the way, will not be the normal fans who go and stand every week in and week out. You're necessarily putting more people for the few into the ground than what the people who are the less and who are the actual natural fans, wherever they are in the world. You're now putting a priority and a jump stake on anyone who's got a fan card, season ticket holder within that team, because it sounds good on paper, but there's too many problems, and I understand where you come from with it, James. For me, I don't think it works. I think it brings more problems than it would actually resolve, in my personal view.
But it doesn't have to have anything to do with ticketing, does it? It has nothing to do with ticketing.
No, it wouldn't. But majority of the times with shares is that sometimes the only time I've seen it happen where you don't actually get a ticket for the game or priority tickets is with Chelsea. And back in the day, that they've done a thing where you can buy a share within the club, but you don't actually get anything to it. But they're the questions I'll be asking. But ask about, you want something for that. You own the club. What do you get for it? What benefit do you get out of it? As a fan, you
have a stock that's worth $4,500 and might go up.
No, but back in the day, James, it was years ago. I think it was when we had more as the owner. We had something called priority rights, and you could pay. I can't remember how much it was now, but you could pay and it give you priority, like Kev saying, to everything. And no, but it was a deal that even now the club's being sold, it still has to happen. So when you get to cup finals, these priority rights holders are getting these tickets, probably not going, spinning them for loads of money. And that's what I think Kev means. It's stopping the real fans. Because if someone says to you, buy a share in Liverpool for $4,500, for example, what are you getting for your $4,500? Because for that 1%, you've got no say.
Make more money. Well, this is the thing. You might say you can buy 10 and then you might get a voting at an AGM or something like that, and then it's an investment. You don't get you buy a share in Apple, you don't get a say in how it's run.
No, but look
the way the world works.
Look now.
I get how it used to be.
Yeah, but think about it in current context, though, James. Right? So, Spirit of Shankly are on the board. They don't own any of it, but they're on the board now. Look at how much shit they get on social media for anything that doesn't go right. It's their fault. Yeah. Because they've done a statement saying they didn't want bad owners, any big owners, their fault, for example. So if you then have 30%, like Kev saying, of people who own the club, because it won't be me and you unless you went and bought loads of stock. So the people who've bought, there'll be someone out there who'll buy loads. There'll be someone mad like Davin Till or Paddy the Bad, something or Drew, or someone will just go and buy a big load of shares. But then the point is, like, if they was to then make, say, for example, Drew bought that 30%, bought them all off the stock market, and he decided that he wanted this to happen to the club and they had to say, then nobody agrees. I think it's better to just, although it works in Germany, nobody agrees in this country. And
that's the same if you had a 49% owner. There's no difference.
I know, but it's impartial, though. It's just not worth it. I prefer full ownership myself of anything, but it's just right now when you see Spirit of Shankly trying helping the fans, they just get shit. They can never do anything right. So imagine if they own, everyone will be saying, "Oh, they're acting in the best interests." Because if the fans was to buy any of the club, it'd probably be part of Spirit of Shankly. They go through that whatever. So then if they were to make any decisions, it'll be, they're making it to line their own pockets. That's all it'll be. Whenever our fans are very fickle. Whereas now they tweet John Henry loads of abuse. Do the people think he sits and reads through his mentions? So it'll be yeah. So it's just.
I reckon he's sobbing on his wife's lap every night.
The best way to win used to be his beard, which he doesn't seem to reply anymore. So used to see him replying to all fans on Twitter. But I don't know. Like someone made a comment before that Total Football. If FSG want to sell Liverpool, they're not going to come out and say, "Yeah, we want to sell them." That was the value. Saying we don't. Saying you don't want to sell it. Yes, if someone comes in, they go, "Well, why we don't want to sell you?" So then the people will go, "We'll make you an offer you can't refuse," and that's when FSG will go, "Okay."
Drew, what do you think? You look bored, so let's bring you in.
Well, like fan ownership.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. No. It's like,
but why? Why is a
because
49% billionaire who's just thrown?
Because the only
his
problem
money
with
to
FSG is
and-
they don't spend. If we can buy Liverpool, I'm not going and buying Mbappe on the weekend, am I?
No.
it'd be
So-
like a certificate, James.
But
It'd
then
be
you own
like,
it because it needs a 49% owner because they have no controlling say. That money doesn't go to Liverpool; it goes to FSG.
Nah, but people are saying this because of Redbird, but Redbird invested in FSG. This investment is in Liverpool FC.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's the difference. I think it's a debate that some would agree with you, James. But I have reservations, especially with that, and especially with football fans. They'll want something for that share, not just a dividend that could go up or down. They're wanting sport and access to the priority games, Champions League finals. I want at least a ticket for my share for that I've paid £4,500 for, and it opens the door. Then, if that does happen, of jump the queue above people who've been waiting on waiting lists or try every year to get to finals and get no such luck. You can jump the queue with a quick share and get part ownership. Now it's a lot. Obviously you can get around that, as you quite alluded to, with the likes of Apple and stuff like that. But I think with sporting fans, I think it's different. I think they want to see some kind of merch and something back from the club, as well as the certificate.
There's very little in global sports share ownership where you get something back from the club, apart from access to like LFC TV or Priority YouTube.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If you put shares on the market,
over 10,
if you buy a share in the club for like however much and you get tickets like Kev saying everywhere, then I probably would consider buying one. Like, but
I give me season ticket up. I would genuinely give up my season ticket up for that.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Guaranteed every final, no stress.
Exactly. There's no stress at all. You can go, you can pick and choose games you want to go, knowing that you definitely get a ticket for the final, whatever that is.
Nah, but they wouldn't do that. That'd be bonkers because they don't have that much control.
No, but
especially at finals and stuff like that. You ask most of the tickets. Yeah.
If you ask any football fan, is it the certificate, and that may go up or down in price, by the way. They're not bothered about that. They want to be able to get through that turnstile. They want to be able to get on that pitch. They want to be able to see those players playing. They want access to the big games. They want to be on Liverpool United, Liverpool Chelsea, Liverpool City games. They want the Real Madrid games. They want the big games. They want to be at every final, because I've put up my money to pay this. And for the money that they pay, they'll be expecting something back.
Box. If you want to access a game and you can't get a ticket, buy a corporate box.
Doesn't guarantee your final ticket. Only priority rights does. I get your point.
But
yeah, it's just more like what
that's not what investment is.
If it guarantees,
just going to take a minute to say thank you to Michael. LFC fans must not own no part of LFC because it would be full of club rubbish, Elliots and Joneses.
Leave Curtis Jones alone, the poor kid.
Don't get mad on Curtis Jones.
No, but he can't. He's not like no one's ever said Curtis Jones should be a starter for Liverpool Football Club. But he's a squad option who's a local lad who's happy to come on and do his bit in any position, by the way. Wherever we put him, he'll play. And obviously, us on like average fans and people on Twitter.
So can he play in midfield?
You can, yeah. He can play well in midfield, but I'll be honest, I'd rather Curtis Jones play than Milner, and that doesn't. People City on Twitter saying, "Oh, he's bad." Jurgen Klopp's the best manager we've seen in the last 20 odd years at Liverpool, 30 years probably, and he still doesn't. He still persistently says he doesn't want to sell Curtis Jones. Aston Villa tried to loan him last summer, and he said no. So if he's holding on to him, I trust me gaffer before people who slag him off on Twitter. He's a good player, never going to start, but he fills a homegrown spot. If you got rid of say Elliott and Jones, you then need to bring in 2 more English players anyway. So who are you bringing in? Don't say Mason Mount.
Declan Rice.
I'd take Declan Rice, but not Mason Mount.
All right, so let's make some predictions. What do we actually think is going to happen? Let's finish on some predictions. And if you are new here, please like and subscribe to the channel and give us what you think is actually going to happen with FSG as we move forward. Drew, let's start with you. What do you actually think is going to happen? Because there's a lot of smoke and mirrors coming out in terms of options and what people are going to head. Do you think partial sale, full sale, no sale? What do you think is going to happen?
Maybe investment. I don't think they're going to sell at the moment. Not a full sale. They did, there's that rumor of that 200 million, 300 million transfer kitty for the summer. It seems like, as you mentioned earlier in the stream, that they're going to try to go for another reinvestment cycle unless they get a significant offer for full sale. I don't see them selling the club. Maybe a partial investment, similar to what Redbird did, but maybe directly for the club. I don't know. But regardless of what happens, we need to spend in the summer. That's an absolute must. So whatever gets us that, I'll be happy with.
Kev, what do you actually think is going to happen?
I think it's going to go longer. We're going to be starting a little bit more, and we're going to get a little bit more deflated, and the money around that will be dependent on us getting the Champions League. No doubt that will start as well. Personally, I think it'll just be investment. But if it does come with investment, I want to actually see what the vision is, what is actually going to be part of this. I want them to come out and provide us with a bit of transparency as to what it is, not these ambiguity statements that they've been given, which I understand why they're doing it. But at the same time, I'd like some kind of transparency, some kind of vision. What's happening? How much will be provided? And where the investment's going to go? And more support for the likes of Klopp, regardless of if we're in the Champions League or not. That's what I think will happen. But no doubt, it could all change. As you know, all it takes is a stupid bid of about £6 billion. So have a look down that sofa, mate. You may be able to buy Liverpool.
Just 1 sec. I found 5.9 bill. Martin, do you have the final bill?
I wish I could have that, James.
You fill that virtual shirt for us. We might be able to get it between us.
Right.
What do you think's going to happen, mate?
I think it'll be a full sale, because I think Manchester United, if Manchester United sold, then I do believe that'll based on the valuation of Liverpool. However, it looks as though the Glazers are going to try and buy each other out, aren't they? But then they could still base that valuation towards us as well, because the Glazers aren't stupid. Even if they sell to the brothers, they're going to sell at a market value. Now, the reason I want new owners, or if an investor comes in, all I want to see is investments on the pitch and investments in the area. One thing that Manchester City owners should be praised for is the investments into that area, what they've done for the area. Now imagine Anfield with that investment, and I'd like to see that just for the City jobs and the City stuff like that. But I do think it'll be a full sale. They're not going to come out and say we want to sell you, because it puts them in a position of weakness. It's like with Coutinho, when we didn't want to sell him. Yeah, we did. If the ice offer comes in, they sold him. So I think it's similar with the ownership. They're not going to come out and say, yeah, we want to sell us, because then any potential buyer is going to say, well, they want to sell them. So the week where if you don't want to sell someone, the offer's there. That they've been quite smart with it. They're very good at PR, FSG. They've come out and said, we want to sell them. And then they've said, no, we don't. So any buyer now knows it's in their mind, oh, they thought about selling Liverpool, but they don't want to now. So we'll make them an offer they can't refuse. And I don't think it'll probably be like 6 billion. I reckon the thing is, Chelsea were massively overvaluated, I think, at 4.5 billion. And that's what I think FSG won't sell it for less than that. But
Matthew, didn't that include investments into the club, though? So the actual amount that they went for was 2.5, but the actual amount that the fund and brought it up was having potentially to have the funds available for 2 billion into the fund and investment. That's how it got to the 4.5. I think people get misconstrued that they went for 4.5.
I think the difference with Chelsea as well is, though we are a much, much bigger club on a massive scale to Chelsea, when owners are coming in, you're buying one of the most luxurious areas in London.
Oh, yeah.
Or you're buying someone in Anfield. It's
Yeah.
completely different.
Oh, no, it is. Oh, yeah, it is. They were also benefits of them, and a fast sale was it was done by the government, and they wanted that done straight away. That's why it was a fast and more processed sale than what you see between the likes of Liverpool and even Manchester United to a degree.
Yeah, I do think
you're there, by the way.
I think it'll be a sale though, me. But like Kev said, I'm happy with investors. All that is wrong with Liverpool at the minute is that it lacks investment into the playing side to continue to challenge, given the current teams in the league growth. That's all we need. If it's an investor coming in giving us loads of money to go and buy people, fine. If it's a new owner, fine. As long as Jude Bellingham's old enough, number 8 in the summer, I couldn't really care.
There you go.
I'm changing Drew. I think that we're going to sell. It all lined up to sell. The players that are out of contract, when you look at their annual salaries and stuff like that, there's so much that could be redistributed and re-looked at and sort of invested in the squad that I think it's so much of a interest for someone wanting to buy a club to say, I have this 300, 200 million pound kitty that I can just spend on whatever I want and I don't have to put any more of my money in. That's like a golden handshake and a half, isn't it? So I think we're going to do a full sale. I don't think investment's needed to generate the money we need to invest in the summer. Because I think with the contracts expiring, we've got that money there. Because you don't have to pay all the transfer fees at once. You can spread them over, reduce wages for new players coming in. I actually think there is no need for investment for us to be able to sign a player. But I think FSG may need some money. And I think that's a completely different conversation, which is why they might try and get rid of a little bit. This has been FSG to Stay, LFC Transfer Room. Thank you very much to Kev, Drew and Matty. Thank you very much to Michael, who just put in a cheeky donation right at the end. New owners means no more cheap Klopp. Can't wait. Klopp with money, as Matty's always said, Klopp with money is a very different and scary proposition for the rest of the league. Imagine what he can do when he's got a few quid in his back pocket. I think he might, if we get new owners, see a player such as Jude and others joining us in the summer. Thank you everyone for joining us. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel, and we will catch you on the next one. Take care.